opinions, viewpoints, and beliefs presented on this program do not necessarily reflect those of the management, the affiliates and broadcast partners, or the sponsors. Listener discretion is advised.
Scarefest Radio, the radio you can see.
And hello, everyone, and welcome to Scarefest Television. I'm going to go ahead and put the disclaimer right up front. Tonight is going completely off the rails. I can already tell. Welcome, everybody. The original broadcast date is June 19th, 2020. The light at the end of the tunnel and all that bullshit. Tonight, our special guest, I'll do the codes first, since you got that pulled up. CCAnn is back with us this week. She's wearing a little more clothes every week. I'm noticing that. She's wearing a little more clothes. Hey. You can
Stop looking at me, Wes. Stop looking at me like that.
I'm sorry that I'm a country boy. We look at everything as I'm not going to say it. I was going to say breeding stock, but I did not technically say it.
Livestock. Yeah, you just went to livestock.
And, of course, our super special guest tonight is Mr. Mick Strawn. Barely needs any introduction, but because I don't even know if we're going to get to talk about his actual work, having talked to him for 10 minutes before the show. This is just going to go sideways, I can tell. Everybody, stick around. We have something special.
I'm a legend in my own mind.
And you're doing quite well at it. Everybody, really something special. Now, in the blurbs for tonight's episode, The Edge of Darkness from our friend Miles Bellar will be showing at the 10 o'clock hour. Guess what? Mick Strawn, professional production guy, is going to watch the movie with us and comment on it afterwards. So stick around for that. And we got that going on. If you're wondering, we're not doing celebrity announcements tonight. We're not going to have time to get a word in edgewise. I have a funny feeling.
I have to put my pink non-reality goggles on.
Ooh.
To go with my pink shirt.
Do you see differently with those on?
Yeah, darling. You bet.
I wish I'd been told there was a color scheme tonight.
Yeah, well, you know what? You tried. You just don't know the difference between moron and pink. Oh, I mean maroon and pink.
Oh, great.
Was that my? I'm sorry. Was that my error? Oh, that was my error. I'm so sorry.
All I need on here is Chris Sutton now, and I'll be totally outnumbered. Well, first of all, Mr. Strawn.
Yes.
What does Mick Strawn? Here's a straight question to you.
Brand? What do I stand for?
No, nothing quite so deep. I don't go deep. If you want deep, you're on the wrong podcast. We've all been locked down, some tighter than others, obviously. What do you do to pass the time during quarantine? What's on your Netflix watch list?
You know what? I know that this is going to sound really strange, but I personally have a mixture of comedy, horror, and romantic comedies. I know that sounds awful, and it's my guilty pleasure. You know, it's like when you get past 60, you're required to watch NCIS. You know, it's the same thing. You know, I don't even know why. I mean, there's just something about those guys. It just turns me on.
Hey, what can you do? I was about expecting you to say Blue Bloods. My mother, that's her show, Blue Bloods.
Hey, that's the same thing. It's absolutely the same thing, you know?
So, well, I guess I'm not there yet. I'm still into superhero movies.
Oh, you know, superhero movies to me, been there, done that. All that movie, you know, these days it's like, let's get into the car and let's go to the Marvels, you know, because everything is a Marvel movie. And part of the reason for that is that Marvel, the superhero movies actually play better in foreign markets because there isn't anything that you would call regional, like a regional sense of humor or anything like that would be specific to America. But the Marvel movies have come around to go all across the world because action is, you know, a good scissors kick on a 30-foot with a 30-foot jump is universal. It's universal.
I can see that. I can see that.
That's a fact. That's why that's literally by the time they get to America, by the time you see one of those Marvel movies, and I've made a really bad one myself.
I was going to ask you about that too.
Once you've seen that movie, everybody in India and China has seen it already. That's right.
Yeah, but we've got a commentator who does movie reviews from Australia. I'm used to the calendar being all screwed up.
Right.
You know, he's like a week ahead of us in time. So I don't. That doesn't bother me.
Well, it shouldn't bother you. It's just that it has changed the nature of what we see. There isn't exactly a good mix of movies in the theater anymore. They are primarily going to be the big blockbusters.
Well, when
you think about it, at least 3 or 4 movies showing at any multiplex at any given time are an action, a Marvel type of movie.
But isn't that greatly due to the cost of production nowadays? Because it's really hard. I shouldn't say the cost of production, the cost of screen time. These theaters only want to show movies that are gonna rake in the bucks, and because they're paid to put butts in the seats. That's how they make their money.
Yeah, but the question is maybe there's a romantic comedy that's going to pull in, the same numbers. Like I would say something like Jojo Rabbit or something like that.
I love Jojo Rabbit.
Would come in with great numbers. But the thing is it's such an intrinsically aimed at an American market that it's not going to translate into other languages as well. So but Netflix has taken up the slack now. I give you an example of like a movie that I watched recently that just blew my socks away. And by the way, as far as films costing more to make these days, that's a bunch of bullshit. Because did I say that? Oh, I must have. Anyway, bullshit. And look, the cost of cameras is down. You have the same camera package and maybe other package, I don't know, as we did on a $500,000 film, $500,000 camera package in the 80s. It's the same as the camera package that comes in your iPhone now, right? And you can go out with that package, with that camera, and you can make a decent looking film with it, and I'm telling you, if you boost that up to like a good medium range, you can buy the best possible camera out there for probably $20,000 and get good lenses for it and stuff and rent them. You don't have film costs. You used to have film costs, right? You can make a great movie now just as a group of friends getting together and stuff. And there are so many good examples of it on Netflix. What we did, let's see, In the Shadows. What we do in the Shadows?
Yes.
Shadows about the vampires.
About the vampires. It's such a low budget film and so amazing. How about Dave Made a Maze? I don't know if you guys have seen that.
No, that one I haven't seen.
That's it's an amazing film, you know, and it's literally made for pennies these days. And I'm a proponent of it because I'm getting into the thing where I'm going back and starting to line up some products to go out and shoot. And if you're not shooting in LA, you know, if you're shooting like on the East Coast, you're going to be able to get away with non-union, and you're going to be able to do the same scrappy films that I did with New Line Cinema back in the day, right? That's the way they started, and now we can start it, but we've got a foot up on it because the equipment's better, people are better trained in general, and I just bring the experience. I just bring the old man smell, and it just makes it that much better.
Which is amazing. I have a question for you because you have worked on so many, either designed or worked on the effects or sets of so many movies that we all loved in the 80s and 90s, horror, fantasy films.
I don't know how that happened.
Well, you must be doing something right. So I want to know how much of what you do on a film comes from from direction, and how much comes from your own creativity.
Oh boy, that's a good question. Let's think back to the Nightmare on Elm Street 3 and 4. Mm-hmm. If you're a fan of the Nightmare on Elm Street series, and you look back at them, which two have the best look? It's kind of 3 and 4, right?
Yeah.
Because that's kind of my particular thing. I mean,
those ones you worked on?
Yes, those are the two that I those are the two that I designed. So yeah. It gives you an idea of you know, if lightning struck once, maybe they would have looked different between the two of them, but they really don't. They kind of look like one pans right into the other. Well, that's my look, and it's really strange. I am not bragging at all. Let me tell you something. I had a guy one time. I was working in New Zealand, and I had an art director that goes, we're just talking about style and design, and I've always said that your style, your design, your style is the thing that you do wrong again and again and again and again until it's right. And Jerry Garcia said that too. That's it. It's kind of so my art director comes up to me one day. We're talking about I think we were talking about Frank Lloyd Wright and what his overall feel and style was. You know, sort of the very beginning of the craftsman-ish.
It was certainly a transition for him.
It was a transition for all of America. It was he had this thing that was kind of a repetition of pattern. And he laid things out on the horizontal as much as possible. You know, his concept of look was the brow of the hill and not up on top of the hill. Yeah. Okay. And if you're a designer, you'll understand what I was talking about. You know, I mean, it's part and parcel of his overall look, but I don't want to get too into that, but I'm just saying that if you look at those two films, and they look like one falls into the other, it's kind of. So I had this art director kind of sits and he goes, "Oh, you know how everybody's got their design." He says, "You know what yours is, right?" And I go, "Self-awareness has never been a big thing with me." So he goes, "It's this," and he draws this. He goes, like that. He goes, "That's yours." I'm not kidding. It was like for 3 weeks, I was absolutely destroyed. I couldn't. I was like, I was second guessing myself. I was like, well, what the hell?
Well, I'm assuming you went back and talked to this guy again, and
he worked for me.
Yeah, okay, hold that because we're going to talk about that more when we come back from this commercial break.
Okay, commercial break coming up.
Everyone is talking about CBD oil, and it seems like almost everyone is using it. The research is ongoing, but the apparent health benefits are overwhelming. If you're going to use CBD products, though, what brand should you buy? First, find out where the hemp was grown. Imports are flooding the market. How potent is it? Look for a brand that plainly states its concentration on the label. And look for full spectrum CBD. This means the oil contains CBD and all the other cannabinoids, terpenes, and nutrients that are found in the entire cannabis plant. Look for Blue Leaf CBD oil. Blue Leaf Naturals is a Kentucky proud company. They use only Kentucky-grown hemp, supporting Kentucky farmers and businesses. Visit their website at blueleafcbd.com now and use the code SMILE at checkout for free shipping.
G'day Scarefest fans, Glenn here from fakeshamp.net. Not feeling too good this week, so you will have to excuse the voice. It's not holding up too well. But I have had my COVID-19 test and all clear. Truthfully, I have had it, and if you're worried about getting that whole coronavirus test up the nose, it doesn't hurt. I promise you. Anyway, I'm here once again for another week of Aussie films, and I've got one of the great Aussie films of all time. It is really dark. It is sinister. It's one of the most foreboding films I've ever seen in my life. I think you'll get a kick out of it. Let's have a look. So this film is called Wake in Fright, and it is really hard to articulate this one. I wouldn't be exaggerating to say that it's one of the most horrific and traumatizing films I've ever seen. It's not supernatural and it's not ultra-violent, but it is really sinister and depraved. I mean, take a look at the accolades on the screen as the trailer plays, and you might begin to comprehend what a profoundly significant piece of cinema this film really is. Ironically, Wake in Fright was directed by a Canadian, Todd Kotcheff, and it makes sense too because it takes an outsider's perspective to sometimes hold a mirror up to the faces and reflect an unpleasant reality. So of course this is not what Australia is like in general, but like so many of those sort of backwoods redneck films from America, Wake in Fright leaves us stranded in the middle of the outback in a place off the map where locals are beyond friendly. So friendly in fact that once they're in your grip, there's no escaping. This story had already kind of been done back in the 50s with Bad Day at Black Rock, and was done again when Oliver Stone made U-Turn. So that gives you a kind of idea of the depravity I'm talking about. The story itself tells of an English schoolteacher based in a remote outpost who finds himself stranded in a small town on his way home for Christmas. The locals embrace him, but he's unable to escape their hospitality, and then it all culminates in some of the most surreal and terrifying imagery ever put on screen. And again, that is no exaggeration. There are so many haunting images in this movie, but none more terrifying than a nighttime kangaroo hunt scene. It's absolutely horrific. I mean, everybody's drunk, bullets are flying, and our poor English teacher suddenly becomes the hunted. It's really hard to watch, but it's incredibly rewarding. There are lots of famous Australian faces on display here, most of whom were at the start of their careers. You might even recognise some. And the most villainous character of all is played by a classic Australian character actor by the name of Chips Rafferty, who was Australia's answer to John Wayne. And if you love westerns and classic cinema, then go and look at his work. It's so many incredible Aussie westerns that you will never have heard of, right from the 1930s all the way up to this, which was his final film. However, the face that you will all know the most is definitely Donald Pleasance. Of course, he played Loomis in the Halloween series, he played the President in Escape from New York, and then other films like Prince of Darkness, Alone in the Dark, The Great Escape, You Only Live Twice. This guy is a big deal, and this is an absolutely petrifying performance. It's terrifying, like really, really disturbing. And you might have read one of the credits at the start of the trailer that this was a forgotten film. And that is true. Not long after its theatrical release, Wake in Fright vanished. No one knew where a print existed until almost 30 years later, the editor of the film discovered a print inside a canister that was marked for destruction. The film was subsequently rescued and it underwent a massive restoration process and finally found its way back onto the cinema screens and onto physical media in 2009. And here's the best news of all. Wake in Fright is available over there on loads of streaming services. You can find it on Amazon Prime, Shudder, Hoopla, Vudu, and a whole bunch of VOD platforms. And there it is, Wake in Fright. I hope this video has inspired you to go out and find it and track it down, because it's just such a special film. Not only one of the great Australian films of all time, but one of the great films of all time. It's something else. Anyway, I also mentioned the director before, Ted Kotcheff, and if you recognise that name, it might be because he went on to make films like Rambo, First Blood. He also made Family of Cops with Charles Bronson, Folks, Uncommon Valor with Gene Hackman, and probably most importantly, he made Weekend at Bernie's. And we can be very grateful for that. Yes, we can. Anyway, that's me for another week. Don't forget my podcast, Good Movie Monday. Find it on all the social medias. Give us a like, share us, subscribe, all that kind of stuff. We really appreciate your support. And until next week, I'm going to just leave because my voice is fucked. Ciao.
And we're back with more Scarefest Television.
Thank
and incidentally,
you so much, Mike from down under.
Glenn, he got a COVID test, but he was diagnosed originally with uveitis. I did not even know that was a thing. Uveitis. The inflammation of the uvula.
Like when the thing that hangs.
Yeah, the little dangle thing. Anyway, back to you, CC.
Wait, can you say that again without putting your finger in your mouth? It's like trying to feed a baby without going. Okay.
You were talking about there was a guy and he said no. And how did you feel about that?
So he destroyed my whole point of view. Oh God, I couldn't design anything, which put me on the level of most designers. Instead of being, my normal amazing self.
Yeah.
But I did promise you a story, didn't I?
Yeah.
Yes. Okay, so you were wondering what was it you were wondering about?
I was wondering how much of your I started with a direction question, and then we moved into Nightmare,
we've been all over the map.
We have. Wes, you want to throw something else in there?
That? Well, you know what?
Mortal Kombat.
No, please let me. Okay, so we were talking about like design overall, and I'm going to tell you a place where I used my design and it just helped out a friend. Friend of mine, producer, calls me when I'm in between shows, and I'm literally driving on Sunset, and he gets a hold of me. He says, "Look, I want you to come over," and he gives me the address of one of the labs. Now the labs are the ones that have all those. They had all the screening rooms back in the day, right? The screen rooms where the guy's got the microphone and he's sitting with friends. What do you think? He goes, is this gonna make us $1 million or what? Anyway,
that looks like Wes.
Yeah. So anyway, so he calls me over, and I go to drive up to Burbank, and I sit, and he shows me a film. And when it's over, he goes, when it's done, he goes, "Okay, what is wrong with this film?" I mean, just like that, because he wanted to find out just what my feeling was. Okay, and it was Mortal Kombat.
I knew it.
So he goes, so what is it about this film that's wrong? And I go, well, this is a copy of that game, right? This is the pot of the Mortal Kombat games. I said, well, you kind of got the game down, because what you're doing is you have all these fights in the middle of all these amazing these amazing sets and locations,
yeah.
Right, in the backgrounds and stuff. But here's the problem: very much like the game itself, the backgrounds are just there. I mean, it was just it's like fight, and it was like the background wasn't involved in what was going on. And so there was this, and I'm going to use like a modern term that everybody uses. There was this disconnect, like a social disconnect, in between that and in between the foreground and the background. Can I hold on 1 second? I have to plug in my my computer. 1 sec.
Wes, is he allowed to do that?
He's the guest. He can do whatever he needs to do. We can edit this in post, as they say in Hollywood.
So,
Fantastic.
I'm back. So, that was pretty quick, wasn't it? Woo. So,
So
basically,
you brought to the table of Mortal Kombat your direction.
right, and I'm going, well, here's what I think you need to do. We need to go in and first of all do some shoots to kind of imitate the look of bringing the backgrounds into the foreground. So we did some shots where like the action would go over here and somebody jump up on a wall and right, and we did it with stun doubles and so forth. But I said I'd like to add 2 sequences to it. Okay. Now one of them is the sequence with the blade that's going around in the middle of a right. Okay, that was mine. But the other one was the big one. The other one was, I said, here's the worst fight that you got is the scorpion fight. Because it was done in a grove of trees. And what it was is it looked like peekaboo. It literally looked like a peekaboo game with a bunch of people wearing COVID-19 masks, So I said, let's do a set. What I'll do is I'll start with Robin, who was Robin Liu was the other star, the Oriental looking star. Sure. And he and I did a choreography in the air, right? And I said, and I built a scaffolding for him in the middle of a blimp hangar that was 130 feet high and 130 feet deep, 100 feet wide, right? We blacked it all in, and then we built scaffolding up and did a fight on it, kind of that goes from level to level to level, right? Mm-hmm. And then I looked and went back into a National Geographic and found this hillside on an island that had all this bamboo up, and it had these bears that they laid their kings over the centuries on these bears, right? And they would climb up and they would put fresh flowers on them, and they would everything was made out of bamboo. So I said, that's what we're gonna do. So we literally found a boat that was transferring bamboo and stopping to refuel in LA on its way to Australia, and we went and we bought half of the boat and took the boat, and we built that scorpion's lair, literally like truckload after truckload as the bamboo came in. And what we did was we started with 8 condors, the big tall lifts. Sure. And we got them up there, and we started on the ceiling, and we built it from the ceiling down all the way down to the ground, and then we cobwebbed it, and we had all these ladders that were up to these bears so that the ladders were connected, so that it all looked like it was connected. And then we put the bodies of the ancient kings up, and what we did is we wrapped X-rated blow-up dolls, 60 of them. We just wrapped them up in Band-Aids, aged them down, cobwebbed over them, and so if you went to the back of the set and looked back this way, you'd see all these.
So that is, I thank you for what you did. That is one of my favorite scenes in the movie. I really want to know where you got all those blow-up dolls. Maybe Wes can help us out with that.
We literally bought the town out of, and I had PAs going for 2-3 days. Going to every X-rated everything that they could, because they only have like 2 at a time, and I needed like 60, and we were paying like $30 or $40 a piece for them, which was outrageous, But so So when you see that scene, and that scene, I love the way that looked. I mean,
It looked amazing.
It does look amazing, and there is no optical in it. That is absolutely everything that you see there is actually there.
Quick follow up though. Now, quick follow up. What do you do with 60 blow up dolls after you're done with them? Donate them to the homeless shelter? What?
No, you just give them to the grip department.
That's your bonus in lieu of Christmas bonus.
Yeah, there
okay.
you go. Yeah, for some reason it works for them. You know, I mean, between them and Transpo, they were just gone.
Okay, everybody, we're going to do our next commercial break. Then we got Bonehead Weekly coming up with their movie review. We'll be right back. Do you feel lost in life? Do you seem to be stuck in emotions that are not yours? Is your home not the sanctuary it should be? Contact Spirit Mechanics, where they take a team approach to your metaphysical and spiritual problems. Spirit Mechanics specializes in aura cleansing, stone attunement, attachment removal, and house cleansings. Spirit Mechanics tailors their approach to your individual spiritual path and needs. Now find them monthly at the Central Kentucky Mystical Market in Lexington. Or on Facebook by searching Spirit Mechanics, that's MECHANIX. Spirit Mechanics, for your spiritual health and well-being.
Hey Scarefest, this is Joe Lewis of Bonehead Weekly. We've been spending some time over on Bonehead working on Dracula. A couple episodes we're going to dedicate to it. He's not my favorite horror character. He's not my favorite character in literature. He's not my favorite vampire. Actually, it's not even Dracula. But that being said, Dracula is really important. And once again, you're probably stuck at home looking for something to watch. Now, if you have some streaming services, I'm going to give you some of my favorite films that deal with Dracula. Number one being Hammer's Horror of Dracula in some other countries, but in America we knew it as a Horror of Dracula. Came out in the late 50s, and Hammer was a British film company that got its name basically making monster films. They did Frankenstein, they did Dracula, they did The Mummy, they did a bunch of Draculas, and they're like Universal. That's, people forget that Universal basically was built on horror. Now, Hammer did it a little differently. They were in color. They were garish in the best possible way. The color, the blood popped, and they used something called cleavage. So there was a lot of blood and breast. You didn't really see a lot. It's more of a tantalizing, teasing kind of thing. But I was introduced to them as a young kid, and that's where I learned about Christopher Lee and Peter Cushing, two of the greatest actors of all time. Christopher Lee, both of them were in Star Wars. If you don't know who they are, you probably should check those out. If you're watching the Vampire Diaries and you're a huge fan, you haven't seen some of these Dracula films I want to talk about, you really should. You should know the history, a little bit of vampires. Definitely check out The Horror of Dracula. It's on Hulu right now. Hulu. So if you have a subscription to Hulu, you can watch The Horror of Dracula. Another one that's on Hulu is the 1979 version of Dracula, directed by John Badham. John Badham was red hot off of making a little movie called Saturday Night Fever, and he actually got the chance to make this basically big budget TV movie with Frank Langella starring as a Dracula, but it tends to work. I saw this movie in reruns later when I was younger, and there's a scene where they descend into the crypt when they're looking for Lucy below the coffin. And I think it still holds up. Is it a perfect movie? No, but it's one of those that I enjoy from my childhood. Plus, it has Sir Laurence Olivier playing Van Helsing. So definitely check that out. It's on Hulu, 1979's Dracula. If you have Shudder, I highly recommend you take the time and watch this fantastic movie from the 70s called Blackula. Now, it sounds weird, but it's a blaxploitation film and actually has a really good performance by William Marshall. Blackula has a lot of cultural significance, and I still enjoy it. It's very much of its time, right? It's very much of that early 70s time. 1972 to be exact, but check it out. Check out Blackula. And the last one I want to recommend, if you're of a certain age like me, then you were just steeped in the early 90s to mid 90s, steeped in independent cinema. I mean, Pulp Fiction was blowing up. This movie's called Nausea. Nadja takes place in modern day New York in the 90s. And it's basically Dracula's granddaughter. Dracula has a small part of it as a throwback, but it's in black and white. It has a great soundtrack. A lot of you have never even heard of this, never even seen it. And that's the way it is with a lot of movies. They just kind of tend to get lost. I do have a copy of it. You can't find it. I know, I want you to see it, but you can't really find it. There may be an illegal version on YouTube. Maybe. I don't know. Maybe. Who knows? You'd have to go look. I also have a copy in my basement. So if you're really nice to me, I may show it to you. Nadja stars Peter Fonda actually as Van Helsing. And it's a realistic view of what this would have been like over the centuries, of what these people would be like. They're not necessarily counts and countesses living in a castle, and probably money runs out. It's a realistic view of a movie. And if you get a chance to watch it, probably most of you have never heard of it, and something I would recommend. This has been Joe Lewis, a Bonehead Weekly. It's a little bit different. I know I gave you several movies in a row, but this is your homework. Next week, when I check back in, I'm going to have a detailed questionnaire, and you better be able to pass it. Check out Bonehead Weekly. Thank you, Scarefest.
Oh,
I should make Joe do that live. He's got some kind of questionnaire. What fun is that doing that on a video? We should do that live. I'll make Joe come on next week.
When I first met Joe, Joe was announcing for the Nightmare on Elm Street panel, and there was all these people up there from Nightmare on Elm Street, and I got up, and I was there too. I was up on the panel with everybody else. And as I walked out, he goes, "Hey, we're kind of just starting this podcast," and he goes, "I wondered if you'd like to just come by and be a guest." And so he set up in a room next to there, and him and the other boneheads all sat, and we sat in a row. It kind of looked like Stalin, that big low table like this, and all of us looking straight ahead. And I don't know how he did it, but he got out of me a story about hell is the name? Boogie Nights. And how I sat for 16 hours with guys yin yang in front of me watching two people screw for 16 hours. 16 hours.
Oh my God.
Holding a staring gun so that I could make it look like somebody was shooting, so that the guy comes in the door and shoots. It's the big party scene at the very beginning, right? That was done in one shot. So I spent 16 hours watching these two people screw and this guy was hung like a palm tree. I mean, oh my God. I mean, it was like an inverted palm tree, Yeah, I'm not kidding. And it was that's hour after hour of that. It was a bit much,
And yet, it's funny how life comes full circle, what with the quarantine and all. Now, since we're on the topic, actually, we've covered a fight, we've covered a fight scene and a love scene. Now, as a production designer, going forward, I've been hearing about what the rules on Hollywood productions now. How do you pull off? Bad choice of words after that story. How do you do a love or a fight scene and maintain social distancing? What does Hollywood have it planned?
I have a feeling now, and I don't know, because I'm kind of retired from. I'm living in Tennessee now, and kind of retired from L.A. And I have been asking myself those very same questions. I would think, tell me if this isn't true. It would seem to me that pretty soon they have to get a good system for testing as to whether or not you have antibodies for it, right?
Oh, yeah.
Whether you've had, and that's going to be your get out of jail free card, right? In other words, it's like in a theater, you're the one that can sit between the two people. Right?
Gotcha, yeah.
Right? And so I'm figuring that people are going to get tested like incredibly often, and that, Hollywood's got a lot of money behind it.
Well, yeah.
I imagine that they can operate their own. Yeah. So it's probably no more dangerous than sticking your tongue in any hole in Hollywood.
I just knew that my favorite movies always either have a love scene or a fight scene in them. That's why I wanted to ask that. Now, I want to go back to something you mentioned before. Now, I'm assuming when you talked about bad superhero movies, you were talking about Corman's Fantastic Four, the movie that never was. Correct?
Hey, that's absolutely correct.
Okay. Was it really? Because we never got to see the finished product. I'm assuming you got to see at least something similar to the finished product. Was it really bad for the time?
Well, how many superhero films were any good at the time?
I loved Spider-Man the TV series. I'm sorry, I am standing my ground. I love that TV show.
Right. No. You're right. It had relatively decent writing and stuff, but the effects and everything were no better.
That guy dropping off the side of the building in Spider-Man absolutely gave me an erection. I am sorry. That was when he would crawl over the edge of something. I absolutely loved it. Now I have to admit the rope, the obvious cotton rope being used for webbing was a little shaky. But anyway, I watched the documentary about the Fantastic Four.
Right.
And everything that I saw in it, I'm thinking, for back in that time period, that practical effects to a great deal, except for the Human Torch, because you can't set people on fire. You just can't do it.
Well, the thing is we had. I'll tell you the truth. It was a movie that was made just to keep the rights, right?
Mm-hmm.
And
right.
so there was a conscious decision. They had a guy in there that was going to do optical CGI effects, but this was way before CGI was any good at all, or even done very often. And the guy that they had in was doing a song and dance number, and he had absolutely no idea what he was doing. And it was really funny because he was one of those guys that figured that he was going to buffalo everybody into it because they wouldn't know anything about digital effects. But here's the thing is you need to know something about effects in general in order to figure stuff like that out. And I got his number really early. And because of that, on the weekends, what I would do is go home and I would make models for like the ceilings, the opening of the roof, the diopter opening of the roof, the ship, all of those models were actually made in my garage by me on the weekends. The bottom of the mole man's lair, all of that stuff I made. Even though everybody keeps going, well, yeah, but he's gonna make all that, and I would tell him right out, because you can tell that, of course I always had a great deal of tact. I said, that guy is utter bullshit. I'm telling you. I mean, when he would walk out and he would say things, I swear to God, I'd look him in the eye and said, you have no fucking idea what you're doing, do you? I mean, absolutely none. And I would laugh and walk away and keep on working. And it's all of, so all of the additions to the sets and I did the second unit directing for it. I did all that, and Ole basically just stole the film. and you can see it now if you want. It's actually on YouTube. There's several copies of it.
Oh, well, then I am definitely going to look that up.
You gotta take it's no, don't get me wrong, it's actually pretty terrible, but there is one thing I have to say about it, and this is totally in my defense. It doesn't look like the modern ones. It doesn't look like the moderns. It doesn't look like any of that. And I say to this day that they have evolved to be their own complete separate animal. Okay, that they don't look like comic books. They don't look like graphic novels. They look like something different. They've become their own thing, sort of like soap operas have become this bizarrely lit affectation of real daily life, right? I mean, and that's what's happened. That's what Marvel movies are like now. But I think that this is a pretty good example of something that actually looks like the stuff in the comic book. It actually has the same kind of overall feel, because I actually took a lot of the inspiration from actual comic books, because this was before people did that sort of thing. So
Right. This was a big deal. It had no budget to speak of, even for that time.
Well, but, nobody knew that anybody wanted to see those films.
Well,
and you know what? And Fantastic Four has had a problem all the way along. And part of the problem that Fantastic Four has is that it's a multiple lead film, and it's hard to get a group of people. As soon as you get 4 people that have to play all those roles, you have 4 egos working at once, and they all go in different directions, right? And I think so far we have yet to see a really good Fantastic Four. I think that there was something kind of sweet about that one. I think it actually looked like a comic book.
We're going to take our final commercial break of this segment, hour, whatever the hell it is, and we'll be right back with more from Mick Strawn.
Come back!
Akashic Awareness is a metaphysical healing and learning center unlike any other. A large selection of crystals, gems, and minerals greet you as you walk in the door, but from that point onward, the journey is yours. They offer a great selection of metaphysical tools, state-of-the-art holistic healing, with classes and lectures scheduled throughout the month. Akashic Awareness is open Tuesday through Saturday, noon until 6:30, 7 on Friday and Saturday. Visit their website for a current calendar of their almost daily special events and guests at akashicawareness.com. And while you are there, be sure to join their email list to stay current. Akashic Awareness, 328 Sycamore Street, Elizabethtown, Kentucky.
Coyote Chris Sutton.
Shamanism.
Spiritual advisement.
Paranormal investigations.
Inspirational presentations.
Bringing light to the darkest places for over 20 years. Go to learn more. And welcome back, everybody, to Scarefest Television. Okay, before I toss it to CC, I just have to put my 10 cents worth in. I liked the first of the 3 modern Fantastic Four movies.
Fantastic Fours.
Yeah. I like the first.
Jessica Alba.
Yes. The second one sucked ass. I'll grant you that. And I never even saw the third one because apparently it's so bad they don't even want to put it on streaming. So anyway. Okay, CC, over to you.
Well, now that we've talked about sex dolls, hanging wangers, erections, and tossing it to Cece, I want to hear about your book.
My book?
Yes, well, you have a book out there, Behind the Screams, The Dream Masters Revealed.
That's right, Behind the Screen Dream Masters Review. Basically, it is a book that I wrote about Nightmare on Elm Street 4 because Nightmare on Elm Street 4 was an enormous film. It was done very, very quickly. It was kind of an odd case of a group of like new young guys that were going to go on and keep going, and they came together and everybody kind of worked without an ego and kind of well, as much as without an ego as any group in Hollywood does, but it was all practical. I mean, it really was 99% practical, and it was huge. We didn't really have a script, so nobody could turn around and go, well, wait a minute, you got to stop spending money because, and you go, yeah, really? Okay, hand me a script. We had a 40-page outline when we started, and it was like virtually the crew's ideas that actually got on the screen. I mean,
And so you talk about this behind the scenes stuff in your book.
Right. I talk about, some of the people that actually came up with the ideas, but we talked about the how we did everything. There's 40, 50 people that are interviewed in the book that I talked to, and these are all people that I know in a situation that I knew. So it's more than just fans going in and looking at a situation. It's sort of a love story of the whole crew to the film itself. A lot of people have said, and it's what I was trying to do, is try to get the book an immediacy. And it's a very designed book. If you look at the pages of it, it kind of gives you the feel of the nightmare. I made it look dirty. I made it look greasy. I made it look bloody. I made cockroaches running across the pages, and it's got a lot of color, a lot of pictures that you've never seen.
That's wonderful. I hope you're going to be bringing a lot of them to Scarefest, because I'm sure our viewers will love that and eat that up.
I think everybody's going to love it. I have not had anybody say, and I've sold about 600-700 of them, that they didn't absolutely love it, that it wasn't one of their favorites. It makes you, it really does make you feel like you were there.
And then you'll be there to sign these copies for them. How exciting!
When I sign, and I know that you're going to find this surprising, but when I sign, I insult. Yes, I do. You get. Now the thing is this: the book can be expensive, but the insult's free.
Well, that's lovely. And you also have some podcasts, 2 podcasts.
Oh, I do. I have Rabbit Hole, which is me bringing on guests and telling stories, and having a bunch of mutual. I think it's better to have people interviewing people that really know what's going on. So I'm not looking for stars as much as let me give you an example. I talked about Dave Made a Maze, which is a great movie. Everybody should see it.
Dave Made a Maze. I saw that. I loved it.
So that film, the director and the production designer, who I thought was very important, are going to be on my show this weekend.
Oh.
So just to give you an example. So that's Rabbit Hole. And then Dream Warrior Review is a show where we kind of review horror films, and I kind of put my own bizarre twist on it, and there's a lot of yelling and shouting and lunacy, and I don't know, like sometimes I just wake up at the end of it and go, oh, what was that?
Well, that sounds
actually kind of how my days go.
Very exciting. Looking forward to seeing you at Scarefest. Absolutely,
now,
Wes.
Great.
Well, okay, I'm just going to leave everybody on screen, because don't forget, here in a few minutes we're going to show our horror short, The Edge of Darkness by Miles Bellar, and Mick is going to stick around and talk to us about what he thought about it. But first, from the chat room, apparently Mick has a dead hooker story that he needs to share with us.
Whoa.
Thank you, Adrian.
Wait a minute.
And that came from my boss, one of my bosses, so I know that it's
Is there something you need to share with us?
Which dead hooker? Which one?
Which one? There's more than one story. Great.
I'm afraid I can't narrow this down, but if this is about Melinda or Candy, I don't want to talk about it.
I get vague references. That's all they give me in the chat room. Vague references. Oh, one last thing. Now, is all of your all of your pictures that I found for promos, you were beardless, but you have this glorious, wonderful beard. Is it a lock-in thing, or is it just because you don't give a fuck anymore?
This is really bizarre, but I started growing my beard about a year before a year before the law. I grew it for a role. I was there was a film called Up All Night. It's a short Freddy film, and I was the first AD, production designer, and I was a character in the film. I was a biker, a hairy biker, and the thing is the beard came out pretty good, and I what I've got going here is I've got a Santa below, see, and dirty biker above. So, I can just throw my personality around wherever I want to with this sucker.
Wow.
Yeah, the thing that's funny is it takes a while to get used to just driving it from room to room.
Crazy.
So yeah, I can relate because I do this thing I call the winter beard every year, and this year, just about the time I was ready to take it off, this all hit. But I had a film role. I did a commercial, and they wanted it more goatee-ish, so I had to.
Oh, well, it does kind of look like a goat.
Yeah, well, like a goat. Yeah, that's
the greatest of all time. Wow.
Yeah, right.
So anyway, so everybody, the moral of tonight's story is Mick will be.
Wait a minute. There is the moral. Wow.
We
has more than one deck.
I didn't know this was a religious program.
You'd be amazed what people will worship nowadays. Mick's gonna be at Scarefest. There, I got it out.
I am now. I am going to be at Scarefest. I do want to. Hopefully, we will work it out so that I can do my panel where I'm going to have all of my videos, and I can deconstruct them for people and show people, how bad it can get.
Yeah, Mick brought that up to me, and I said, well, our problem is we're trying to figure out the logistics of this. The convention center, they have not given us any guidance that the seminar rooms will be ready. They're ahead of schedule, but those still may not be done. So, we've got the entertainment complex across the street that we're going to work with, but then Brandon's thesis was nobody's going to want to walk over there, but we'll find out. We'll see what we can work out. Everybody, stick around. We're getting ready to play our The Edge of Darkness by Miles Bellar, friend of the show. This is third.
Are we going to do another New Age commercial?
No. But if you don't like it, you write me a check. Damn it! I have no. I'll take money. I'll take money from the people that sold you
didn't think this was going to be that easy,
the dolls. That's how I am.
You didn't think you were going to get away with this.
But the first one was CBD,
you said
and
this was going to be off the rails. And
for the record,
now
now the CBD people are just waiting for marijuana to be legalized. That's why everybody's in CBD oil. Anyway,
trust me when I say nobody is waiting.
I am a law. This is twice that I've had to stand up for being a law-abiding citizen. That, and then Cece tried to get me to hack my my Fire Stick last time she was on. So I'll see you all when you're in prison. Anyway, let's show the movie. Everybody, we'll be right back after the movie with commentary from Miles Bellar. From Mick Strawn.
Yeah, right. You missed it.
morning.
How are you?
Just another morning. Sorry if I woke you up.
Oh no, that's fine. Another bad dream last night?
Yeah, apparently so. They seem not to have quit even after we've moved. They used to be in random places when, when I was a kid or hanging out with mom and dad or as a teenager. Mm-hmm. About stuff that used to happen.
And?
Well, since we've moved here, they've changed. They're not what they used to be. They're more like premonitions. Like,
really?
Like things that's going to happen here.
Have you been taking your medicine?
Seriously? You're going to ask me that?
Honey, I've got to check. I'm just doing it for your own good.
Well, I appreciate you asking, but of course I'm taking the medicine.
Good. Well, we all forget things sometimes.
I appreciate you asking, though.
Well, you're welcome. Just want to make sure you're taking care of yourself. For not just you, but the family.
Yeah. Hon, how'd you sleep?
Not great.
I didn't sleep well either.
You guys are way too much alike.
Did you have a bad dream?
Something like that.
See, must be hereditary at this house.
Okay, I'm going to change the subject to something more positive here, okay? I think this house is really coming along great. I really think this new start is something that we all needed, There's a lot of character around here. Take a look around, take a look outside.
I think it'll work out. What do you think, Ginger Snap?
I like it. It's a little old, and creepy. Sometimes when I go to bed late at night, I feel like someone's watching me. I don't know.
Oh, honey. Don't worry about that. You felt the same way when we moved into our old place in Smith's Grove, and I know you remember that. Mm-hmm. Just give it some time. You will feel better, I promise, okay?
Okay.
It'll all work out, Ginger Snap.
sorry, I know you're not gonna like this, but I need you to take your medicine. Everything that's going on is all in your head. Marty, listen.
It's not in my head, it's who I am.
You're gonna feel better when you take this, okay?
No more medicine.
I need you to take these.
No more fucking medicine! It's not helping!
Not taking them, it does help people.
It's not helping! It's who I am! I can't help it!
Do it for us.
People pay for people like me to go into people's houses and businesses to see if they get spirits or if it's haunted. I can't help it if it makes you feel weird. It's who I am!
Oh my gosh, look what you just did. raising your voice like that? She doesn't fucking need this right now.
Winter? Winter? Sweetie, where are you at? Winter, are you down here? I'm not gonna let you take my fucking family.
Make it easy on yourself. That's not my baby. It's not her. That's the hailstorm.
much longer. You have to end it now.
You have to do it, Marty, for the family, so we can be together again one day.
Okay.
Little behind the scenes stuff there. Now, everyone, Miles, if I'm not mistaken, I think he's still in college, but he was, I'm going to say with having talked to the guy, I'm seeing some big improvement from the earlier stuff that he sent me in. So yeah, I'm saying for a new filmmaker, I'm seeing promise in this young lad. Now, Miles, we're going to critique a few things. First of all, first thing you said, though, Mick, was you liked the framing.
I did. The framing, especially the framing outside where he sees the guy with the glasses, the dark glasses. Mm-hmm. The framing from that scene was he was balancing, having his character all the way to the left with the circle of the fire pit. And the thing is when you're working with design and you're trying to be interesting, what you're trying to do is you're trying to adapt the rules to give you tension and emotion. And in that case, he's looking off screen. He's close to being off screen. And the only thing that's balancing him in the screen and not making it look incredibly awkward is that you can see the round of the stone fireplace right there, the exterior fireplace. Now that's kind of a and I'm sure that he understands it from a visceral feel, that then the next cut that you see is from a slightly Dutch angle. So he continues that more interesting look, and then he's got the character on the left side of the screen that turns to us so we can see the dark glasses, right? And this creates tension through that whole little segment there, and that's intentional. And the thing is that's the kind of thing that a production designer will talk over with the director and say, and help him to understand that we're trying to go to a certain place. Now, I did like that sequence a lot. I did like the feeling at the end. There was a feeling that we got with him in the front. And actually, if you were mentioning that he had the blood on his face and that it was really hard to see from the side, it was hard to tell if they were just blood freckles, right? But then when we come around and we see him all the way and we're starting to understand, but we don't totally understand, right? And I love that feeling in a film. At the same time, I mean, those are some of the positive aspects of it. At the same time, I would have said that that central staircase, the central staircase that we were looking at, when we saw the mystery person come up that staircase, it would have been nice if they were solo lit and that the rest of the staircase was just barely lit. Okay, because you didn't want to totally just see and have it look like it could have been anybody going up that staircase. The black and the white was absolutely beautiful and perfectly lit for black and. I mean, it really was. It was nice. I like that a lot. And I have to tell people this all the time. When you're working on your first few films, get the sound down right. Don't, the sound is going to make a big difference. And like you said, Wes, you were talking during the film and you were saying, here's the thing. I've seen a lot of good low budget films that were only destroyed by the sound themselves.
Yeah, I said ruined. And now this one is not ruined. This one was not ruined by the sound. There was now this is actually some technical stuff that I didn't know, but you were talking about in like the bedroom scene where he's yelling.
Yeah, the bedroom had a very high ceiling, although you couldn't see up there. I'll tell you, it had a high ceiling. And the thing is what you want to do in that high echoey ceiling is you try and get something up there that's going to stop the sound from bouncing around. It's, we used to hang blankets, and the pros do this all the time too. I mean, you hang blankets, run a couple wires across the top of it, in that big space up there, and run some blankets up there. And then when he yells, have him yell into a blanket that's just off screen, so that that his yell doesn't come back. Because when he was yelling at her, there was a definite return echo that you could hear. And the thing is that the comfort level of getting through a film that has good sound is so important. I'll tell you, the Medea, what is it? They're filmed down in Georgia all the time. The Medea, the guy that dresses up like the woman.
Oh, Medea is like Halloween and
Medea Halloween. Yeah, the Medea Halloween. In his some of his cheaper films, he does terrible sound. As you go from room to room, there's a difference in the sound, you know, and it's really, really noticeable. And so what you're trying to do is you're trying to, as much as possible, get a dead sound in a room so that when you put them all together, you can put them together with a room noise, and that room noise can be the continuous thread through it. See what I'm saying?
Right.
It's important that we don't know that the sound doesn't sound like it's going to different rooms, right? Or if we're going to do that, we do it intentionally, and we do it in the soundboard later on. You know,
that was actually something I was wondering. Of course, now as commentary, I can tell you as a podcast from way back. Now I actually use a pre-mix. I'll put it this way: I sound better on the episode than I do through your Skype because I've got it remixed in the episode. Because my little studio here does not lend itself to putting soundboards anywhere. But I do have the green screen behind me, and I think it actually improved my audio. Talking about hanging blankets.
Well,
but
I luckily am working in I just finished this area. This is an attic room, and because it's an attic room, the wall that's in front of me is just one big angle going down like this. And because of that, I don't get a bounce back against the back wall. So it has a pretty dead sound all by itself.
Now, of course, most of the films that I really complain about the sound, you can tell they use the camera microphone.
Oh, well, and of course, you know, the funny thing about that is people go say, well, can I just get a better mic and put it on top of the camera? And the fact is what you're trying to do is you're trying, as opposed to spending $300 or $400 on a mic, on a better mic on top of the camera, how about spend $20 and put a mic on the guy?
Yeah.
Get it close to him.
But regarding the storyline, I liked it. You couldn't tell the guy.
I did a lot.
If he was crazy, or if he was psychic, or if there was really a bad guy, or if it was all coming from his head.
Right.
I liked it.
Right.
Made me feel tense, made me feel uncomfortable, just like what I want from a scary movie.
Right. Exactly. You know, but I'm pulling a critique, and you know what? He could come right to Scarefest and walk right up to me and punch me in the nose.
Hey, as a guy who's probably still learning some of this himself, I mean, to have such good feedback from someone who's been in the industry for so long, it's probably an honor.
Well, let's face it, though. The only thing we're picking apart is the sound part, and that's not normally the director's job. Now, as he gets a budget,
no, and I agree. And here's the thing: the thing is it's one of those things that it takes a long time to understand that that the sound is as important as it is, because certainly I've been on a lot of films, professional films, that, you know, nobody gave a crap about the sound guy. It's a particular thing of mine to try and help the sound people out, and I think, and I know it really makes a difference. It really does. And but I'm with you. You were there. It's at the beginning. At the beginning, your first few films, you worry about the image more than anything else, and boy, you got to get the sound down first, and then the image comes. You know.
Now, a little nerd talk about sound. How much? Okay.
I'm sorry.
How much of that can actually be fixed in post? No, actually, I called me a nerd, but audio software has. Actually, I don't guess it's come anywhere for 10 years, because we can do it all 10 years. It's just easier now. How much of that can actually be fixed? I know when I'm recording a voiceover for something, I try to record it at a lower volume and then use my compressor to bring it up so I don't get those spikes when my voice gets loud.
You can't deal with the spikes, because whereas
they're going to flatten
out.
Analog,
it used to be that the analog, if it went into the red, that it could be recovered. but it doesn't work that way anymore with digital, because what it does is it just gets up there and it just cuts it off.
You're right. Yeah,
and that's the sound that you hear. And the problem is that sound is really difficult to fix, because basically what would have happened is you would have had to gone in and reloop all that, and technology doesn't make relooping any easier.
Can a low budget filmmaker, can they overcome some of that by if the blankets don't work, I'll put it that way. In other words, to kind of hedge their bets against those spikes, can they record on a second mic and have that audio?
Well, there are recordings. There are recorders right now out that actually do double waveform. In fact, it's pretty inexpensive. What they do is they do two waveforms, one that's lower than the main, and if you happen to get and start to compress your main, it's going to stay underneath it, right? And you can go back in and automatically it'll automatically clean itself up when you're in playback. It's really an amazing new system, but it's just a software thing, and you're going to see an awful lot of that coming out these days. Tascam has a lot of their their little DC-05s and stuff are going to start coming out with that system.
So, and Miles is in the chat room. I wasn't sure. I thought he'd make it tonight, but that's the first time I saw him say anything. So, yes, Miles is, and he said he appreciated the feedback. And, I mean...
Please don't hit me!
I'm in the chat room on your website. I don't see him.
That's because there's more than one chat room. Mine balls them all together. That's why.
It's the ghost of Miles.
Hi, Miles.
So, Miles, thank you very much. Looking forward to seeing your future work. I think you're
good to meet you, Miles.
I am seeing definite improvement. Everybody, this has been Scarefest Television for this week. I hope you enjoyed it. I want to give special thanks to Mick Strawn, not only for keeping us highly entertained, but for actually sitting here with us an extra half hour and doing the hard work.
Yeah, thank you so much, Mick.
Oh, hey, you guys, it's been a pleasure, and Miles, I'll see you there. Come on by, and we'll talk about it. We'll do lunch. We'll do something.
We'll do something. Thanks, everybody.
See you guys.